Hi everybody, I have a massive earwax removal for you today. This was a mammoth wax removal. Literally just one ear canal, right? This patient's been feeling really blocked out. I mean super duper blocked. And came in to say, look, you know, I think I've got something going on there. I took a look and thought, well, you know what? Yeah, there's a little gap at the top. This isn't going to be that difficult to remove. Oh my goodness me, was I wrong. Basically, I tried a little bit of suction to start with, but it's this, I might talk about this clay type of earwax, this kind of very thick, almost like a Play-Doh or putty kind of consistency. You notice I avoided a food reference there, guys, I'll do better. But basically, when they came through, it was just blocking the end of the suction constantly. So I thought, oh great, there's a little gap at the top. This is perfect for like a Jobson Horne, you know, a curettage. We'll get a lot of this out with curettage. But what I found was I was trying to go in, you can see how close this is to the eardrum, and I'm really cautious not to go too deep here, but I'm just kind of drawing down through this wax and pulling it forwards, but it's just taking these little scoops, and there's loads and loads of these little scoops, and I'm back in and out of the canal a lot. Sorry, I got a really itchy eye. Let me do that first. Thank you very much. That's better. So yeah, I was taking lots of these little scoops out, but when I was getting this front section, the back section was quite soft, so I was kind of scooping down through that. I'd hit this front section here, and it almost like the wax had thickened and hardened a little bit more right at the front. And I didn't want to dig too deep, because if you dig too deep, it can scratch against the patient's ear canal, can feel quite uncomfortable. So I always really conscious of that. I don't like doing that too much. Sometimes we have to, unfortunately, just because we can't get it out with suction, or, you know, it is, like in this case, really thick. But what I'm doing here, normally I scoop above, take that central section away, then lift that really hardened up layer that's sitting against the canal wall and lift that up there, and it normally detaches, but that's not going anywhere. This is a real tough old one to do. And you'll see I'd take another scoop, there you go. And it seems like all these little tiny pieces. And once I started looking at the paper at the end, I realized just how much had come out of this particular patient's ear canal. Here we go again. You can see I'm going just a little bit deeper, trying to pull this front section, but it hasn't gone anywhere. So it's another little scoop. You know, it is getting smaller, and we're taking the central core away. I'm trying to be really conscious of the patient's canal wall. I'm taking it down just a little bit, fraction deeper every time. But the difficulty you have with these particular types of wax removals is that you get this hardened, thicker layer that tends to sit right on the canal wall. And because it is that little bit sticky, a little bit harder, it doesn't want to let go particularly well. So what you end up with then is as you're trying to pull this down, you can't really see the depth of the wax. You can't really see where the wax ends and the ear canal begins. So you are kind of scooping. I don't want to say blind, because you can see what you're doing, but you're really conscious of the depth going in there with that Jobson Horne. So trying to get around the outside edge here. You can see I'm using the side of the tool now rather than the actual end of the tool to try and take these side pieces away, but we're still going. And no matter how many scoops I make, I just can't seem to find the ear canal wall skin. So it means that this wax plug was quite a height, there was quite a depth to it. So what I'm doing now, I've put some olive oil in, just hoping that that's going to help to release this front section of wax here. Now what you will see a little bit later on in the video is the reason I was having so much difficulty is as you go into the entrance, you imagine the entrance to the canals like this, it immediately flares like that. So what you end up with is a lot that's collected just behind. You can't actually see it there, you'll see it later on, but there's a lot of wax that's collected on that left hand side there, just beyond the entrance to the canal, so much harder to see. Now when I clear a lot more of the canals, we do get it cleared, but when I clear a lot more of the canal, you'll see that a bit later on. So you can see I'm judging there, thinking, you know, can I get the Jobson Horne, can we get this just over the top? And I'm loath to go much deeper, and I'm pressing a little bit harder now. I really want to clear this front section. But look, it's still coming away. I want to try and roll that back section. That's what I'm trying to do is basically I'm really hoping that that little lip you can see at the back is going to fold towards me, and then you're just going to be able to roll this down the canal. There you go, I'm going a little bit deeper. Now I did get a flinch from a patient. I did accidentally scratch the canal wall at one point. There you go, that was it there. So the patient just said, oh, that was a bit uncomfortable. And basically I know now, okay, well, that's the depth I've got to work with. It's not ideal. Normally I'd like to see the canal, and we really try not to do it. But unfortunately with some waxes, you just can't help it, especially this thick clay wax. But it didn't look like there was a lot left at the bottom. But watch when I start to lift this up, how thick that section still is at the bottom. Look at that. I can't even find, I'm looking for that lovely pink skin, that first glimpse of ear canal wall skin there. And I'm just not getting it yet. Now, that's what I was looking for. Now I've got depth. I can see, well, okay, how thick is this plug then? Let's work our way down. But you can see where that canal just drops off on all sides, going from that bottom section across to the left-hand side. I'm hoping, okay, I'll pull the right now. Let's try and pull it in from the right-hand side. But that's the area that's got that sort of slightly recessed part of the canal. And that's why I couldn't get that detachment, is because that section was much, much thicker than the rest. I can just see the pink of the skin here just at the front. But I'm still struggling. And now I've lifted it all up. I'm like, well, where's that ear canal wall skin gone now? Because it's actually moved it back across to the right again. Look at that. And sometimes if you're lucky, you'll lift it up, and then you go back in then, well, this is actually a right curette rather than a Jobson Horne. Sorry, I've referred to it as a Jobson Horne all the way through, but it's actually a right curette. And sometimes when you're lucky enough, you lift that front section and you pull, you'll break that lifted section. That's what's happened here. I've broke some of it away. You can see a much, much thicker plug there, but look at that, it's still there. We're still going on this side. So I'm just going to clip the rest of this off. Guys, make sure you stay tuned for the ruler shot, because I know it doesn't look like I've taken a lot away, but have a look at the ruler shot at the end, okay? I purposely didn't put it on the thumbnail because I want you guys to check it. I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but it is an immense amount of wax. It got to the point where I had bits of wax. I had to literally turn the paper because it was getting that full on the one side. I had to turn it around to actually use the fresher side. Now, there you go. Now look at that. You're starting to see that peel. There we are. Now we're getting it. Now it's going. And then I hit this section on that left-hand side again, and I'm thinking, why is that not peeling? I just don't understand why this is not just coming away as it should do. There we go. Now we're starting to get it. There we are, just folding it over on itself. Imagine like sort of kneading dough where you're kind of pushing over and compressing it down and pushing it over and compressing it down. That's what's happening here. I want to stick that layer I've just literally lifted up. I want to stick that back to the main bulk of, a little bit of wiggle there, the main bulk of wax in there to try and hold it in that place. So when I go in then with the curette, we can go over the top and pull this back. You can see a little bit of redness there. I've just clipped the edge of the ear canal there, and the blood vessels, we've said this a lot, but the blood vessels inside the ear canal are just below the surface of the canal skin. So if you even just scrape it mildly, you get these little kind of what look like would be a quite deep scratch on everything else, that little kind of almost blood-filled scratch. That's what happens very easily at the surface inside the ear canal wall. So you can see I've managed to pull this around, but it's still quite firmly stuck just because of the nature of this type of wax. This thick clay type wax, always difficult to remove. It varies from person to person, this consistency. I produce this type of wax, so I produce this type of clay wax, and I have to have my ears cleaned out. Taylor does mine probably about at least once a year, just to get rid of any excess. And that's with me, putting some oil in regularly just to try and take the stickiness out. You just can't help it. In some cases, you do just produce that a little bit more. I usually tend to have mine done before I go away on holiday because I love the water. So I'm in the water quite a bit, and when you've got this type of wax, I had it once where it moved and it really blocked the ear canal up, and that's it caused no end of trouble then. Here we are, so it's coming away nicely. And again, There we go. Now it's starting to really move now. We're getting a good bit of traction on this wax. You can see these bigger chunks now starting to come out. And there we go. There's the eardrum. But I thought, okay, I'll just tidy this little bit up to the left-hand side because that was really stuck. You can see how firmly attached that is to the canal wall skin. You know, I'm having to go really quite close to it there to give this a really good pull. So my advice to this patient, definitely use some olive oil on a regular basis. It is going to make a difference. It's going to soften that wax up and to come more regularly as well. So I'd like to see this patient every 12 months. And, you know, I'm taking these sticky pieces. You can really see, look at that staining, that sticking of the wax, the remnants on the drum. And that's because that's where the wax was actually physically stuck to the eardrum. So this canal was full front to back. So I'm just going to remove this last piece. Now remember I said about that recess just as you go inside the ear canal? We'll have a look in a second. We're going to start working on that little bit of a recess, and I think you'll be just as shocked as me as to how much wax was hiding in this. It didn't really look like, you can see it doesn't look like a lot. You know, we think, oh, we've cleared most of that, but this section here is the reason I could not detach that wax. There you go, we've got one section away. And we've pulled the next one, but have a look at this as it starts to peel out, just how much was hiding just inside that ear canal entrance. Look at this. You know, I was trying to detach that left-hand side and it just wouldn't go and I couldn't work out why. This is why, because all of this is hiding in quite a pronounced recess just inside the canal wall, inside the canal entrance, sorry. There we go, look at that. That was a chunky old piece. But eardrum looking a lot better and patient so happy with the hearing. I told you to wait for the ruler shot. Look at that. We literally have, oh, somebody asked if I could do a close-up in the comments on YouTube. So I thought we did almost run out of half of the ruler there. So we're almost at 2 3/4 inches, 7 centimeters of wax that came out of that ear canal. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching our video again today. As you can see, obviously you've noticed all the way through I'm on my own today. So me and Taylor are not together now until Wednesday for the next voiceover. If I get a chance next week, I might do a quick voiceover with Katie as well, because you guys seem to say you want to see more of Katie on the channel as well. So guys, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of your ears, and take care of one another. And I shall see you for the next video. Thanks everyone. Bye.